so I'm in my little basement studio. You can probably see it looks a bit like I'm in a cupboard, but this actually is my studio. In a second, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen so you can see what's happening on the computer, but then you're also going to get a window that's like a video feed of most of the room so you can see what's going on. And yeah, please, as Robert said, we're going to stop sort of for 10 minutes at the end to have questions. There really is absolutely no question you can't ask if you've got queries about anything. I suppose what's kind of different about this kind of experience is I can't see anybody's expressions as we're going along. So it might well be that I say things that everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about, or I might say things and you're thinking, I'm really sorry, I don't know what I meant. So apologies if I'm too technical or not technical enough. I guess that's something we can kind of pick up on at the end. So what I'm going to do is go to put my screen on. Let's see if this works. Great. Okay, so you should be able to see me in one corner at the screen, and then over on the other side there's a kind of view of the studio on this camera. And here I've got Ableton Live, which is the program that I use for doing electronic music. Or, well, really, I suppose Ableton is the kind of hub where all the things that I do, all the sounds that we make end up. Now, in fact, I'm going to use a variety of different kind of techniques to make something, and I'm just going to show you one way that I might go about making a piece of music. So you can probably see on the little kind of monitor window on the left that there's lots of kind of knobs and wires here. So I've got some modular synths here that I use for making sounds, and obviously here's my laptop and a keyboard. And then up here I've got my sound card and a few other bits of outboard that I use for recording. And then on the other side, just behind my head, there's various kind of synths as well. Now, you might be looking at this and thinking, wow, that's a lot of gear. I don't have any of that gear. I can't possibly do any of this. But really, you do not need to have a really complicated setup to do to make kind of music like this. Sometimes if I'm at home, I've just got my laptop and a little portable sound recorder, and I just work in the laptop, and there's masses of things you can do with that. So anyway, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to start off by making some kind of a rhythm that we can work with. So I'm going to move the camera around so you can see, and I've got to bring this microphone with me. Okay, so over here we've got a little drum machine, and at the moment it's in the kind of sleep mode, so all the lights are going like it's really exciting. But what I'm going to do is just press play, and we're not going to hear anything until I start hitting some sound. So hold on. Okay, so you might have just noticed the little dot go flying along the top, which is the kind of timeline. There it goes again. So what I can do, I've got two different ways that I can program things here. Either I can hit the buttons to record something, or what I can do is I can just actually draw on, or rather press these buttons to choose when I want notes to play. Want to be in the right mode. So you can see there, those blue lights are going to trigger a sound. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to program something. So I'm just going to clear those ones. And I've got a little metronome here, a little click, so I can play along in time with this. Okay, so I'm going to do something a bit like that, and then I'm going to add to it. So I need to hit record here, put that red button on, and now every time I play something, it's going to record those notes. Okay, that'll do for now. So I'm going to stop recording. And come back over to the laptop. So at the moment, what's happening with the laptop and with the software here is all that Ableton Live is doing is when I press play on Ableton, it's starting the sequencer in the drum machine. So what I need to do now is I want to take that rhythm that we've created and put it into the computer as an audio file that we can then chop up and turn into a much more exciting rhythm. At the moment, it's kind of pretty boring. I just wanted to play a few different sounds, hit some buttons, see what would happen. Now we're going to mess around. So what I do is I go over to one of the channels here. So you can see there's quite a lot happening here. And where's my... Oh yeah, okay, so drum machine. So this channel, so if you can see here, this channel that's just kind of lit up, what I'm going to do is record here. So I press one of these dots here, and you're going to see in the window at the bottom of the screen, you're going to start to see the audio coming in. Just going to let that play a couple of times through, because I left the metronome. I can hear that being recorded as well. Okay, that's plenty. Great. So what we're going to do is go over to, now I've got a little sampler here. So I'm going to take the sound that we've recorded and drop that in. First of all, I need to sort out, just put everything in time. So you can see here, there's like a grid. And when you record the way that we're doing at the moment, because we're sending this out through Zoom, I need to sort out, there's an issue with latency. So what happens is the sound goes in slightly late. So it's in time, but it's not, the sampler's going to have a small problem with it. But okay, that should be fine now. So I take this audio file that's here, and we go over to our sampler. And I'm going to drop it in there. Great. So now that should be my first sound. Should be able to trigger this from over here. Okay, so I'm going to chop this up by quarter beats, so basically by beats. So we're going to okay, so we've got so I can trigger various different points, little slices of this loop that we've got. Actually, I'm going to take it. Let's make my start point. Okay, so these little lines that I'm moving make each of the slices of what we're going to play. Now, also what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed up the whole track. So at the moment, our kind of tempo is quite slow. It's 103. I'm going to take this up into the kind of mid-20s. And let's put on the metronome here, and let's mess around and make a little loop with this. So I'm really going to be quite randomly hitting the keys and then seeing what we're getting, and then we'll make some loops out of this. Now, what I also need to do is switch off my pattern that we'd recorded there, because we don't need to hear that anymore, and we don't want to hear that coming in either. Okay. Ah, that's better. Okay, I think that's enough of that. So now, if I look in, oops, well, that's peculiar. Right, let's try that again. I don't know why that's not recorded. Okay. Okay, right. So all of these dots here are the notes triggering what I played there. So I think I'm going to take a couple of bars here. Okay, quite happy with that. Now, I've got a little, the thing is, we've got this 2-bar pattern here. I like a little bit of variation and unexpectedness in what we're doing. So I've got this little, down in this bottom left corner here, I've got a little plugin, which is part of Ableton Live. And what it does is there's a percentage chance of it choosing a different note. So what that means is there's a 20% chance that it might not play the note that I've programmed. So that's going to give it a little bit of unexpected variety. So our pattern isn't always going to be the same. Let's have a listen. Okay, that's kind of fun. Right, now I'd like to have another layer of percussion to it. Now what I have to do every time as well, so that I don't trigger this by accident, is at the bottom here I've got buttons where I select which channel that I'm playing. So now I've got a synth over on this side. Which again is a little bit kind of strange and squelchy, but it's going to give us a nice kind of low and high sound. So I'm going to overdub this as well, do it the same way. So I'm just going to record these notes. So you can see, again, the notes that I've played here, and I'm just going to push those so that they're a bit better in time. Right, let's make the start in the right place. Okay, cool. So we've got a couple of peculiar kind of rhythmic parts. Now what I'm going to do is I want to start to create some kind of melody. So I thought the way I'd do this is I'm going to record just a single chord on a guitar, and we're going to put that into a sampler and then play it off different notes on the keyboard. Okay, so I'm just going to grab my guitar. And I'm going to plug that in to this red preamp at the top here. So that should be coming in here. You can hear it crackling away. Slightly dodgy cable that I need to get sorted. Seems to be in tune enough, so we don't want to hear anything else whilst we're playing this. But because this is going straight into the computer, straight into the desk, I don't need to worry about any noise that's happening in the background. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to play this chord a couple of times until it sounds nice and not crackly and nice and clean and clear. And then we'll put that in a sampler and play with it too. Okay, here we go. So again, you're going to see it appear on the bottom of the screen. It's maybe a touch too loud. I'm going to try it once more. Last time for luck. Okay, that'll do. Right, finish with the guitar. So, again, same kind of idea as we did with the drum break. I'm going to put this guitar sample into this sampler down here. So here's what we recorded. I'm going to drop it into there. There you go. You can see those 4 chords that we did. And let's hear how that sounds. Just on that channel. So you can hear it's playing from the start of the sample. So what I need to do is move this to the point. Oh, it's gone off. Hang on. Okay. Yeah, this one's good. There's a tiny little, now I don't know if you're going to pick this up over a Zoom call. There's the tiniest little crackle on it. I'm going to see if there isn't on this one. Yeah, that sounds much better. Okay. I'm also going to turn this up a bit. Okay, now just to make this sound a little bit more interesting, over on this side of the sampler, we've got different ways we can kind of control the sound. So I can now making it spin really quickly from left to right. So let's put this in with our drum beat. Now again, I need to go back, switch off what I've recorded because we don't need to hear that anymore. Switch that channel off, switch that channel off. Okay, and we can put in our... Okay, that sounds kind of fun. Let's see. Let's have a go recording this. Okay, that should be enough to make a loop. So here's our little pattern of notes down here. I think I'm going to take it from the second time. So I'm just nudging these notes along that aren't quite in time. You can see the numbers at the top of the screen, and I want these to be lined up so it's more. Okay, cool. So if we take kind of 2, so I'm going to make this just 8 bars long. So it's playing through that little pattern twice. Okay, cool. I'm happy with that. So what I'm going to do now is I've got a kind of bass sound here. So I'm going to kind of follow a little bit the kind of tune that I've played with that guitar sample. Okay, I think I know more or less what I'm going to do. I should point out, I'm not really a guitar player. I'm not really a keyboard player either. A lot of this is really just kind of feeling and thinking, what are the notes that sound right? And to a certain extent, once I've found those notes, I'm kind of that sort of keyboard player that I need to keep my hand there because I can't really remember what the notes are. But as long as I keep my hand in the right place, I can play the notes. And obviously, it doesn't matter if I play a wrong note because then we can sort it afterwards. And sometimes when you play a wrong note, you end up playing something much more interesting than you'd planned anyway. So I think it's important that when you are making things, don't be afraid to try things out, to take a risk, to get something wrong. That's always, I think, a really, really important kind of thing. Okay, let's see if I can get this in. Oops. Let's try again. Okay, that's enough. So again, so what I'm doing each time, hang on, I'm going to show you this properly. So you can probably see this grid here at the bottom of the screen. And if you look here, here's each beat. And then there's like quarter notes. Now, if you look at this note here, you can see I've missed by quite a distance, but that doesn't matter. What I can do, you can see this one is slightly late. This one's slightly early. This one's slightly late. This one's slightly early. So I can do a thing called quantizing. What quantizing does is it pushes those notes to the nearest one so that it's much more in time. Now, the drum machine did that for me automatically, but in Ableton, what I need to do is to do that manually. So I just put it there, and if you watch, they've all jumped into exactly the right place. So again, I'm going to start about halfway through, make my pattern 16 bars. Now I'm just going to take out okay, now that sounds quite nice. Now, what I think would make this bass bigger, though, is if it was playing two notes at once. So I'm going to copy all of these notes, and I'm going to paste them an octave below, as if I'd been doing it with two hands, and that's going to make the whole thing sound much bigger. Hang on, let's try. Oh, yeah, come on. Oh, it's made them all quiet. That's not what I want. So copy these, and I can just drop them in exactly the same place, an octave below, which is going to be here. Okay, that's immediately sounding much bigger. Now, again, I don't know how well the subtlety of that is going to come across on a Zoom call, because obviously, like I say, I'm in my studio. It's coming straight out the sound card into my nice headphones. I can hear it really clearly, whereas you're going to get a little mono lo-fi version of it. So it's going to sound quite different. And I can also do it the opposite way. I can go an octave above. So we're going to have three notes at once. Okay, that's cool. Right, I'm going to try a couple more things that I'm going to put in. I've got this little box down here on the desk. What I'm going to do is bring the camera a little bit closer so you can see this one. Okay, so just here, I'm very fond of this. This is a little drum machine. It's called well, it's not even really a drum machine. It's just a sound. All it does is make this sound. You can't program a sequence with it. You just press the button, and it makes this noise. But as I turn the dials on it, we can tune in lots of different sounds, which is really fun. So I'm going to just play this in as an extra little bit of percussion, and then we'll edit that. So it's going to be a little bit loose. It's not going to be perfectly in time, but then we can fix it afterwards. So I'm going to do that one here. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to make one other sound with it, which is going to be just a longer. Like a kind of crash cymbal kind of sound. We might use that somewhere else as well. So that one is harder to hear, but if we get it in the mix in the right place. Okay, so just going to make this happen every 4 bars. So we'll make a little 8, whoops, loop here. So here and here. Okay, and here is the little one that we just played in. So I'm going to switch all the other bits off so we can hear. Nope. This one, okay. Okay, so we're going to go from this one. So you can see these little markers. I can move these markers around and then drag the audio. So that, again, a little bit like, so I can manually quantize this, even though this is an actual bit of audio that we've recorded, and put it in the right place. And the computer will do a good bit of fudging to make sure it sounds pretty good. And once things are kind of in the mix, you can usually get away with it. So let's hear. Right, let's hear it with some other bits. Okay, and okay, that's cool. So let's put everything else in. Put our bass line in too. Okay, I'm going to put one last synth part in. So again, this really is another one that's just about showing another thing that you can do that makes something really, really musical sounding, but without it being too complicated to play. So I've got another synth sound here that's up to my right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an arpeggiator. So an arpeggiator is basically a little device that plays some notes on a scale. So if you were ever kind of forced to have piano lessons, you'd have to kind of learn how to do in various different keys. I can totally remember that being forced on me. And, you know, at the time I thought, why do I have to do this? And then later on you think, oh, actually this is kind of quite useful. But anyway, the computer can do that for us. So I've got a little arpeggiator plugin down here, and what I do, I switch this on, and what it will do is you can hear all of those notes going, and all I'm doing on the keyboard, if you can see, is I'm just holding down one single note. Okay, so that's quite fun. So what I can do is I can have different ways it could go. So you can hear these notes are going up. You could have them going down. You could have them going up and then down, for example. So there's all sorts of fun you can have with an arpeggiator, doing very little to make something sounding really exciting. So I'm going to use the random setting where so you can hear, I mean, there's so much fun just to be had by randomly choosing. I mean, that sounds super cool. So I'm going to do something with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm really not sure what notes are going to sound good over this. So I'm going to press play and have a listen and just try something out and work out a chord that we can record. Okay, I think this is going to work. So all I need to do for this is to just record one bar of this. Okay, there we go. So here are my 3 notes. So again, I'm going to quantize that. And we'll actually miss out the first half beat. Make it this long, and then make it repeat. Now, it's quite a lot of notes happening. So I've got another little plug-in here, which a little bit like the one we had with the drum pattern, where it was slightly randomly choosing notes. This one is there's a percentage chance of it missing a note. So I'm going to make it miss out about 1 in 3, but it's not just going to do play one note, play the next note, and then not play the one after that. It's going to, each time, it's going to make that choice. So we're going to have a slightly less notes happening. Okay, cool. Right. So I think we've got all of the bits that we want in this track now. So let's go through them. We've got, let's kind of start and work our way along them. And now we've just got a couple of minutes before we're just going to do some questions. But I'm going to look at how we can put the whole thing together as an arrangement. So here's our drums. The guitar, there's the bass, and then I thought, I bet this is going to sound nice with this synth part coming in, but without the drums. That gives it a kind of bit of tension, and then when we bring the drums back in, okay, so we've got all of these pieces, but now what we need to do is we need to turn this into a finished arrangement. And then the parts that are playing from synthesizers that are outside of the computer, obviously we recorded in the kind of squeaky crash pad sound, and we recorded in the drums from the drum machine, but the other synth parts we still need to record in. But we can make an arrangement. So if I change over to this window, you can see we've got a whole blank page. And I can start to piece these together. Now, the thing about Ableton that's really fun is that we can do that in a really live way, in the way that I was just kind of playing with it there. So I'm going to start by switching almost everything off and thinking about what's interesting to start with. Okay, and I'm going to copy this one. Whoops. Just going to make 2 up. Come on. There we go. Okay, and I'm just going to get rid of some of the notes. And it's going to make it a bit more interesting. And so let's hear. Okay, but I think we need something else with that to start out. Is it going to be all crazy? Or do we want to come in with... Or is it better with our guitar? Okay, let's kind of go with this. So what I can do is, when I want this to start making this arrangement, I hit record over here, making sure that I'm not going to actually record any more audio in. Okay, so here we go. And over on this side, you'll see in the arrangement things starting to appear. So I'm going to bring in the bass and the whole drum pattern. And then I'm going to make the drums stop and bring in the other synth parts. Which suddenly brings up the energy of the whole thing. Okay, let's just kind of stop there. So I've got, that's about a minute there. Now, obviously, what can happen now that I've done that is we can look at these and then think, oh, actually, hang on, I maybe want to do it a different way around, or I want to have this happening here, or I have this happening somewhere else. And so nothing is kind of fixed until we kind of decide. So we can just keep working and keep kind of playing around with these. This is really the kind of, now obviously this has just been 45 minutes of doing this, and obviously I was slightly planned in advance about what I was going to do, but at the same time the way that I work tends to be kind of quite spontaneous, trying things out, seeing what happens. And I would usually spend a lot more time on this and some things. So for example, actually this drum pattern hasn't worked really the way I wanted it to. I'm not quite sure why. But again, I wanted to get things down as quick as we can so we could see. And quite often that is part of the process, is trying things and then seeing what happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this main view so you can see me, and let's see if we've got some kind of questions and comments, any things that you'd like to know as we've been going along. Okay, so thank you, David. That's very kind. So Henry Jaspers, so how do you create new ideas with existing or fixed plugins? So, okay, I suppose one of the things I do is trying stuff out, and I try not to use preset things. I tend more to see what something does and then see where I can go with it. And quite often I might push it really, really far. And you might think, oh yeah, that sounds terrible. That doesn't work at all. Now I need to kind of pull it back a bit. But I think the experimenting with things, trying things out is really, really important. Like I said about halfway through, it's really important to not be afraid to get things wrong. I think that's a really, really important part of making interesting music. And I think certainly the way I want to work as a musician is I'm not interested in saying like I want to make a track that sounds like so and so who made this, even if that's something that I really like. I'm really just I'm really good at making the sounds and the things that I do, and I think it's important to focus on your strengths and aim for that. You can learn a lot by trying to make a track that sounds like something somebody else has done, but at the same time it's good to always mess around and try something again. And I think another thing that's really good in terms of coming up with new ideas is when you do something that's successful, when you come back to do the next thing, don't just repeat that. Don't just think, oh yeah, I did that thing the other day where I programmed it like this, so I'm going to do one exactly the same but a little bit different. Think about, how did you get to that point where you thought, oh, I know, I'm going to try this and see what happens with it. Like, think about, what was the jump that you made? Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? Any other kind of queries? Anything else that I can help with? I don't know if there's any other kind of thoughts about the kind of kit. I don't know obviously how clear it's been to see what's been going on. There's such a difference between having people in the room and being able to kind of show things properly and when it's coming over a fuzzy camera. So I hope being able to see the desktop and having the other camera has been helpful. And enabled people to see a little bit about the process. Was one other thing I wanted to show. Let me see if I can do this. I'd made a little. I'm going to have to actually open it up. I made a little diagram because I know it's when you see this jumble of wires, it is kind of quite daunting. So I made a little diagram to kind of show what a more kind of simple setup is. Let's see if I can share this. Thanks very much, Bailey. Hold on, let me just share this. Okay, here's my little picture. So this, if you can all see this, this is kind of what happens when I'm at home. And so I've got my laptop here with my software, my digital audio workstation, and I've got my sound card here, which is plugged in with a cable. And then I've got a little synth module here. This is a really neat little synth module that does all sorts of things. It does really nice kind of bass sounds and drum sounds and kind of strings and keyboard sounds. So it's a really handy thing to use just on its own. And then I've got a little tiny pocket MIDI keyboard, which is, as you can see, is kind of about the same size as the laptop. So this is kind of a fits in a bag kind of setup, but also I can set this up on my kitchen table, plug in my headphones and make some music, and it's really straightforward, and I don't need to be in the studio where all the gubbins is. Okay. But yeah, well, thank you everybody for sitting through this and listening. As I said, it's all kind of a new experience for all of us working this way, and I hope it's been useful and informative. And yeah, I think if you do have more kind of thoughts about things, more specific things that you'd like to know from Music Plus, do kind of keep keep in touch with Music Plus. And